4:02 p.m. After a brief talk, me and Roger came up with a plan, and it's pretty foolproof. First, we pack up some stuff, like clothes, a camera, and our journals. Mom got Roger one too, in a small drawstring backpack, and set it somewhere outside. After an hour or two, we put on some costumes to give the illusion that we're going trick-or-treating and leave. Once we leave the house, we grab the bag of stuff, and once we get far enough from the house, we change into our normal clothes. We're thinking of meeting Kay at Worley Street, and from there we will head down to the sanatorium. Rodrick should be a huge help too, because he knows a thing or two about sneaking out. Mama's pretty gullible too, especially now that Rodrick's beginning to clean up his act a bit. Welp, I'm going to stop Ryan and get back to work. Wish us luck, because this isn't going to be easy. 4:55. Welp, it was easy. Don't worry, Mom, I'll make sure he doesn't get into any trouble, alright? Have fun, sweetie. Me and Rodrick slipped on our costumes and we were out of there with no trouble at all. Dad did give us a weird look because of our costumes, but he didn't seem to care. I guess he was just glad we were out of the house so he could play with that dumb Civil War diorama he had. Aside from that, we were in the clear. It took us a while to get to Worley Street, but we eventually made it. And sure enough, Kay was waiting for us there, and he seemed excited to have a new member of the crew. You guys made it? Yeah, this is my brother Rodrick, by the way. He also had some gadgets that he brought along too. He had a camera, tripod, a voice recorder, and even a little doohickey called an EMF. He explained how it was supposed to pick up electromagnetic frequencies and all sorts of other mumbo-jumbo. I admit, it was kind of cool. After he showed off some of his stuff, we finally managed to reach the end of Worley Street and began getting near the woods. When we heard some strange noises come from the bushes nearby, at first, I thought it was an animal or something, until I made the mistake of turning my flashlight on. Oh, hey Greg. Jeez Louise, the last thing I wanted to see was Fregley's face peeking back at me like that. Even worse, we had caught him taking a leak. Whoa. Luckily, we actually scared him off, so we didn't have to deal with him. After that incident, we continued into the woods, going in the direction of where the sanatorium supposedly was. We walked for about 15 minutes until we saw it. The sanatorium, black as night, and obviously massive, sitting mere feet in front of us. As soon as my flashlight beam hit the walls of the massive building, this really bad feeling came over us. At this point, I started having second thoughts about doing this, but there was no turning back now. Against my better judgment, I actually began to walk forward first to enter the building. I stepped up the concrete steps and gently pushed on the door, but it wouldn't open. And when I peeked through a window, I could see why. I guess some people thought that blocking the place off would prevent people from going in because there was a giant pile of furniture sitting directly behind the door, preventing us from entering. Kay said that since the front entrance was blocked, we'd have to find another way in. Luckily, I had the map that I drew in this journal, and we tried to find the east entrance. Unfortunately, even that wasn't feasible because some jackwagon changed both doors shut. Before we got going though, Rodrick said he wanted to take a detour a bit. He wanted to visit the place where Bill died. Kay looked a little bit miffed that we weren't going into the building, but he relented. We walked back towards the front of the building and out into the woods before we came to the spot. Rodrick was the one that found the spot. I didn't know exactly where Bill died. Let's face it, who'd want to? But Rodrick did. He saw the police photos and news broadcasts, so they pretty much got burned into his memory. After we found the spot, Kay asked if he wanted to do something called an EVP session. It was kind of annoying how we decided to go for all this techo mumbo jumbo, so I'll summarize it right quick. Basically, use a recorder to try and get a response from a ghost. In this case, hopefully Bill's ghost. Remember when I said that flashing my light on the sanatorium gave me this weird feeling? The same thing happened once my flashlight beam hit the memorial tree. It wasn't as bad as when we first got to the building, but it was noticeable. Me and Rodrick sat down at the tree, while Kay unpacked some of his equipment, mainly his camera, voice recorder, and EMF. I could tell Rodrick was nervous, and I tried to reassure him, but it didn't seem to work. After a minute or two of getting settled in, we turned our flashlights off and began the session. Kay turned the recorder on and began asking questions. He asked some basic stuff like if anyone was there, if Bill Walter was here, and if they could please make their presence known. before playing the recording back and listening for voices or anything of the sort. Nearly 10 minutes went by with no results, and that's when Rodrick got impatient. Why are we even flipping doing this? Rodrick was getting pretty annoyed that nothing was happening and was starting to argue with Kay about disturbing his friend's resting place. At some point, he got fed up and grabbed the recorder from his hands and tried recording himself. Bill Lewis Walter, are you here right now or not?
Yes.
It spoke. It was extremely faint, but I swear all three of us heard it. As soon as we did, the nervous tension in the air nearly increased tenfold, and I swear the air even got colder. Rodrick nearly did a double take as soon as he heard it, and sat frozen in place. Kay looked absolutely stunned, but at the same time excited as heck. There was no doubt that we had literally just contacted Bill Walter's ghost. I, however, was not a fan of disturbing a dead man's grave. Trust me, I've seen enough horror movies to know that it never ends well. I was about to tell Rodrick to cut off the recorder, but he shushed me. His anger had completely left him at this point, and he asked a few more questions. Bill, are you angry with me, Bill?
No, not your fault.
Yeah, I know it's not my fault, but I was harsh on you that day, Bill. I was too harsh. I'm so sorry, Bill. I just need to know, do you forgive me?
Yes, Rod.
I honestly don't even know how to put what happened into words. After the response, I swear I could feel the nervous tension in the air just leave. They even got warmer, as a matter of fact. So sorry, Bill. Sorry, Kay, Rodrick. It took a few minutes to calm Rodrick down. Kay looked like he was about to jump up and do the Macarena out of sheer excitement, but I could tell he was restraining himself for Rodrick. We just let him have his moment. After Rodrick stopped crying, we both asked if he was okay, and thankfully, he was. He also wanted to continue with the investigation, but before we moved on, he had one last request. Before long, we got our way back from the spot and continued on our investigation. As we got closer to the sanatorium, the calm feeling we had left yet again, replaced with that all too familiar nervous tension. Kay told us that we were probably going to have to find another way in, since the doors were blocked from the inside and chained shut. I suggested we try and climb inside the windows, but he said that they were too high off the ground for us to climb into. That's when Rodrick piped up and said there may be some windows in the back of the building that may be low enough for us to climb into. I'll save the details, but we had to walk around the entire building to get to the courtyard. Unfortunately, it looked like getting into the courtyard was going to be a challenge too, because the entire yard had a massive brick wall built around it. At this point, I was hoping Kay would give up the investigation and let us go home, but we managed to find a way inside at the last minute. I think some of the teenagers from back then managed to bust a hole in the wall with a rock or something, because there was a massive gap in it, big enough to crawl through. Thankfully, it wasn't that tight of a squeeze, and we managed to get through. The courtyard was absolutely massive. It was so large that I couldn't even see it on the other side of the wall, or the building when I shined my light in its direction. As if it couldn't get any creepier, there were random statues of angels and other structures lying around, along with dead trees. Oh, I thought those were ghosts. We started making our way through the courtyard, in the direction where the sanatorium was. I'll admit, the whole time we were walking, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Finally, our flashlight beams hit the sanatorium's backside. Sure enough, Rodrick was right about the windows. They were 3 feet off the ground and looked pretty easy to climb through. We began making our way towards them, and were getting ready to climb through when... I swear that stuff only happens in horror movies. With the stuff we just encountered earlier, I shouldn't have been surprised if something like that would happen. But it scared the living daylights out of me anyways. Apparently, it scared Rodrick pretty bad too, because he let out one of the girliest screams I've ever heard in a man. At least I have something to hold over your head this time, Rodrick. Really, Greg? After the door swung open, everyone just kind of froze up. I was on the verge of just taking off in the other direction at this point, but I knew there was no turning back. Kay was the first to step in. Big shock there. Before eventually me and Rodrick followed in. As soon as I set foot in the building, that bad thing that I got earlier came back, but on steroids. This place not only looked evil, it felt evil, like we weren't supposed to be there. Not only that, the place was really freaking dark. Our flashlights couldn't even reach the end of the hallway ahead of us. Brushing all that aside, we started making our way down the north hall of this place. As we walked, Kay started explaining the plan. Okay, I admit this place is starting to give me the creeps now, so we're gonna make this quicker. We're gonna hit the psych ward first, and then the children's ward. Once we're done, we can get out of here, alright? Well, that was a relief. We started our walk to the psych ward then and there. The place looked nearly 10 times bigger in person than it did in them photos and map. There were so many hallways and corridors that you could easily get lost, and that was the last thing we need. I'll save the details on the trip there, but along the way, some pretty weird stuff happened. Rodrick claimed he saw a shadow run across the hallway to his left, and Kay said he felt something breathe on him. Naturally, I chalked this up to them being paranoid or seeing things. That is, until all three of us heard a distant scream down the hallway ahead of us. But of course, we conquered our fear and reached the doors to the psych ward. And boy, they sure didn't help make us feel any more welcome here. Rodrick flat out refused to go in there, saying he was getting a wicked bad vibe from it. And so was I. Kay started to argue, saying that it'd just be a quick photo and a recording, and then we'd leave. After a minute or two of bickering, they both came to an agreement, and all three of us stepped inside. I guess we found the room the teenagers used to hang out in, because the place looked like a dang tornado had hit. There was pizza boxes, beer bottles, spray cans, and all sorts of other stuff in there. Aside from the mess, there was also a couch, a bunch of wheelchairs, a table with chairs, and even a straight jacket hanging on the wall. Aside from the mess, it looked like a typical psych ward. We all sat down and began to do an EVP session, and I decided to take the time to write my journal to catch up.